Hi everyone, it's James here. Welcome back to the channel and part 3 of my series, my favourite top 50 American songs of all time. And this is a bit of a problem because I started this before Christmas and then lost momentum with it. I did one instalment that did really well actually, and then there was considerably less interest in volume 2, so in part 2, so we'll see. So today we're going to go from number 30, I think, up to number 21. I think that's right. So anyway, let's hope that it is. So, bit of a surprise choice. Coming in at number 30, we're going to go with Madonna. Now, I was never a huge Madonna fan when I was growing up. Obviously, you know, I fancied Madonna, as lots of us lads did back in the 80s. But in terms of her music, I wasn't that fussed on it. But I always did have a little bit of a soft spot for Borderline. It's got a lovely, fresh innocence to it. I think it's a very, very well-written song. And I used to enjoy the video for it. There's just something very 1980s about it. Anyway, I found this 12-inch single a while ago. I can't actually play it because my turntable won't play 45s, but it's nice to have it in the collection, and it is a song that I stream on a reasonably regular basis. I like to hear it. It takes me back to happy times. Almost said happier times then. Happy times. So there we go. Madonna coming in at number 30 and Borderline. So coming in at number 29, complete contrast. I wanted to get Chuck Berry in somewhere, and it was just a case of trying to choose a track. In the end, it wasn't actually all that difficult. My favourite Chuck Berry, well, I've got two favourite Chuck Berry tunes. One is Too Much Monkey Business, which I think is just really funny. But the one that I'm going to go for in the end is No Particular Place to Go, which I think is just one of his most witty and joyful songs. Maybe I'm fond of it because back in the 80s I had a Three of a Kind album and there was a sort of piss take of it on there, Lenny Henry doing Chuck Berry, and it always used to make me laugh. But there's something about the song, the way it's arranged. I like the performance. It's not one of his more, I suppose, not one of his more generic songs. You know, it's not a kind of song that you often hear being done in bad pub rock cover versions like so many of other Chuck's songs. You know, think of Roll Over Beethoven and you know, Maybelline. It's a bit more quirky somehow, so I thought I would have it. So yeah, Chuck Berry from this great album, Greatest Hits. We will have No Particular Place to Go at number 29. And then coming in at 28, this is a record that I've not talked about for a long time. I did an actual whole video on this album years and years ago. I think it was one of the first videos I ever did. I did a half-hour review of this record, which is one of my favourite albums from the 90s. This is Eels and Beautiful Freak, and they're a band that I'm going to go back to. I've got most of their catalogue on CD. Now, which song am I going to go for with this? I considered Susan's House, and there's a couple of other ones I really like on side 2, like Guest List, and Your Lucky Day in Hell actually is a great track. But I'm going to be very, very predictable and just go for Novocaine for the Soul, which I think was the first big hit single that Eels had. Very atmospheric song, very well written. I like his lyrical angle. That's Mark Everett. Musically, I think it's really interesting, and I just think that they're a really interesting band. He was a very singular artist, is a very singular artist. I know he's still around. I've seen them live twice, actually. Saw them not that long ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Still really good. So I thought I'd have it in the list. A song that meant a lot to me back in the 90s. Novocaine for the Soul from Beautiful Freak, which I think is the second album by Eels, isn't it? Coming in at number 27 is a great song from Laura Cantrell, whose music I discovered via the John Peel show. She is, I'm going to say she's from Nashville. Can't be absolutely sure of that. If that's not right, I'll put it in the comments below. But this record, Not the Trembling Kind, which may have been her debut album, might have been her second album, I'm not sure. John Peel absolutely loved this record. I think he once referred to it as his favourite album of all time, something like that. He used to play it a lot on his show, and I bought this reissue of it a few years ago. There's a few really good songs on this record that I like. On side 1 particularly, Not the Trembling Kind, which is the title song, is great. Pile of Woe is a really great song. That's a cover version. But the one I'm going to go for actually is at the end of side 1, and it is Churches of the Interstate, which is just a very, very melancholy, windblown kind of song. She sings it wonderfully. She has a very, very beautiful voice, clear as a bell. as Chuck Berry might say. Great musicianship on this album. Some really nice songs. If you don't know this album, check it out. Laura Cantrell, Not the Trembling Kind. And my pick from this is going to be Churches of the Interstate at the end of side 1. Coming in at number 26 is a song by a band that I've never really been a big fan of. The song in question is by a great American singer-songwriter, James Taylor, and it's his song Fire and Rain. But the version of it I'm going to highlight as being a favourite is by Blood, Sweat and Tears from their third album. I think it's the second song on side 1, possibly. Can't be absolutely sure. I just think it's a really, really good version. It's not perfect. It's a little bit fussy and frilly. The drummer in particular overplays on it. Always a problem with jazz rock. I don't mind Blood, Sweat and Tears. I've got a couple of their records. I sometimes find their arrangements a bit over the top, and this is no exception, but I do think it is a really, really nice version of the song. It brings out its sense of aching melancholy. It's got a great, great brass arrangement. I've heard James Taylor's version, and obviously it's great, but I probably prefer this version. I don't know if it's sacrilegious. I like the lyrical angle. I think it was a song about, I think he'd lost somebody in his personal life. It's definitely a song about coming to terms with the loss of somebody. It has a very, very sad, ruminative quality, which I find very appealing. And as I said, I think the version that Blood, Sweat and Tears do on this record is absolutely brilliant. The vocal performance by David Clayton Thomas, he really brings out the emotionalism of the lyric, I think. So let's have that one coming in at, what was it, 26? Blood, Sweat and Tears doing James Taylor's Fire and Rain. Okay, coming in at number 25, we've got the great Billy Preston, who I became aware of thanks to his involvement with the Beatles and Let It Be. This is a record I picked up not too long after I joined the VC, and I can't remember why I bought it. I think maybe I was just curious about Billy Preston, or I might actually have streamed the song. I can't remember, but it was a song that, when I heard it, I loved it so much. I listened to it on repeat for about a week. It's the second track on this album, The Kids and Me. I think it was a big hit single for him, or at least a single. I don't know if Billy Preston ever had really big hits, did he? Anyway, the song is called Nothing from Nothing, and it has a really great, feel-good, sort of honky-tonk piano on it. Got that kind of gospel-y, soul gospel quality. It's very upbeat. It's a very short song, probably only about 2.5 minutes, but it really pumps out a lot of energy. It's got a great chord sequence, very infectious vocal performance from Billy, and it's just one of those great sort of happy songs, always puts a smile on my face. So let us have that at number 25, Nothing from Nothing by the great Billy Preston. Now, coming in at number 24 is a Motown song. Now, I've often said that my favourite Motown album of all the Motown Chartbusters is Volume 3. I think that one really does not put a foot wrong. But and in fact, in a future instalment, I'm very likely to have a song from Motown Chartbusters Volume 3. But for this particular instalment, we're going to go to Volume 4. Now, Volume 4 is the only one I've kept on vinyl, apart from Volume 3. I decided that those were the only two I needed on vinyl, because often they're not in great condition. But the song I'm going to pick from Motown Chartbusters Volume 4 is buried nearly at the end of the album, and it's What Does It Take to Win Your Love by Junior Walker and the All-Stars, who made some fantastic records back in the 60s. Roadrunner, of course, was their song. Now, this track has just got the most gorgeous horn arrangement on it, which, for my money, I think George Harrison used it as the basis for his song Far East Man on Dark Horse. I know George Harrison was a fan of Motown. I think he was a fan of Junior Walker. If you play those two songs back to back, What Does It Take to Win Your Love by Junior Walker, and then listen to Far East Man from Dark Horse, a very, very similar horn arrangement. I don't know too much about Junior Walker. I've just picked up an album by him, actually, from Oxfam, so I'll be showing that in a Finds video at some point. But let's have that. Junior Walker and the All-Stars, What Does It Take to Win Your Love from Motown Chartbusters Volume 4. Okay, coming in at number 23, an album which I've shown a few times over the years, and this is my favourite album cover of all time, based on a painting by the French surrealist painter Magritte. This is Jackson Browne and Late for the Sky. A really, really great album. I've kind of got to be in the mood for it. It's very, it's kind of slow, it's melancholy. Jackson Browne is an interesting songwriter, somebody that I've never particularly followed. I saw him live years ago in Liverpool, and it wasn't a very rocking show at all. But I do like his lyrical angle. The track I'm going to go for on this is the obvious one, really, Fountain of Sorrow, which has kept me company on many a long and lonely motorway journey. I like the sentiment of the lyric, I like the storytelling, novelistic approach that it takes, and you can really lose yourself in the song. You know, it's very long and it kind of, it's not formless, but it just seems to have an almost improvisatory quality to it. It's one of those songs that you queue up in the middle of the night when you can't get to sleep, whether you're feeling a bit down, and it really sort of, it doesn't perk me up exactly, but it makes me kind of feel like I'm not alone. And that's one of the great things that music can do in terms of being soul medicine. I think Jackson Browne had a really good grasp on that. So let's have that, Fountain of Sorrow, from his, I think, his best album, Late for the Sky, Jackson Browne. Okay, two left. So coming in at number 22, and there were two possibilities, both of which are from his greatest hits album. Smokey Robinson, an absolute legend of American music, still going strong at the age of, I don't know what it is now, 85, 86. A couple of songs on this record I considered. Being With You, the opening track, I absolutely love. It's got that really classic 1970s sort of smoochy kind of sound. Tears of a Clown on side 2 as well, brilliant obviously, but I can't in all honesty go for anything really other than The Tracks of My Tears, which is just one of the all-time great American ballads. Bob Dylan called him America's greatest living poet, and Tracks of My Tears is just an absolutely tremendous song. I think Glenn Tilbrook does this song in his live set when he does acoustic versions. That might have been where I first, properly cottoned onto the song, but just a really, really great piece of songwriting from Smokey Robinson, who had to be in my list somewhere, so I've been a bit obvious there, gone for one of his big obvious ones, but why not? So, Smokey, Tracks of My Tears, what a great lyric, what an absolutely brilliant lyric. Right, okay, so coming in at number 21, the last song for today, we'll go for a bit of Curtis Mayfield, and I had a couple of contenders for this. I've never actually owned Superfly on vinyl. For years and years, all I had by Curtis was a CD best of, and there are some great, great tracks on that, which I absolutely love. Freddie's Dead, there's all kinds of things. Pusher Man, absolutely brilliant. The opening track on his first album is really good, but I'm going to go with the opening track on his second album, Roots, Get Down. 5 minutes and 45 seconds of just urban splendour. An amazing horn arrangement. I really like these vocal effects in the opening sort of introduction. It might be meant to symbolise people having orgasms or something. I don't know. There seems to be a bit of a sexual thing running through it. But as usual with Curtis, you've got the social commentary, the political side, and I just love the way it sounds. Just sounds like a great blaxploitation movie. It puts me in mind of watching all those films back in the 1970s when I was a little kid. I used to watch them at my grandparents' house because they used to let me stay up late. So I used to sit there watching blaxploitation, eating Jammy Dodgers while my granddad dozed off in the armchair. There's something about the music of Curtis Mayfield that takes me back to that sort of 1970s urban America. Very easy to glamorise and sentimentalise, obviously. He was writing about very difficult and turbulent times, but he did it so brilliantly, and I think that's encapsulated really on Get Down from Roots. So to finish, let's just have a quick glance at the great man. I'm never quite sure about the shot on the back of the album. It's him wearing his kind of 1970s stage gear, standing in a field with a sort of fence in the background. Rather a strange choice, but anyway. Coming in at number 21, Curtis. Right, so I'll try and do part 4 in the not too foreseeable future. Thanks for watching, if you have done, and I'll see you next time.